Hi, my name is Peter Walker and welcome to today's edition of The Transition Guy. Now, joining me today in the studio is Justin Frandson, who is an athletics performance coach and has been coaching high-performing athletes, whether professionally or on an amateur basis, for the past 20 years. Welcome, Justin.
Peter, thank you for having me.
Now, your topic to me is a little bit different, but intriguing. Because one of the things I've picked up on and what you talk about a lot is EMF, electromagnetic fields, and how that can potentially affect our performance. And I'll let you come in on that in a second and give us your take on all of that. But one of the things that I kind of drew a parallel to is that in the last 2 years, what's been really interesting has been that we've seen a massive rise in a lot of mental health issues. A lot of people actually not performing as well as they can. And a lot of people have put it down to the fact there's been isolation, remote working, and all of those factors. But I think one of the factors that I've not heard people talk about, and you actually do talk about it, is the fact that electrification can play a big part in performance degradation. And yet for the last 2 years, with people being remote working, they've brought more electrification into their lives, perhaps, than they've ever had before.
That's exactly right. We're seeing electrification in our atmosphere that we've never seen in the history. And we're seeing people in their homes more than they've ever been. And they want to make their home a healthy home. And it's really not when you have so much EMF in your world from the wireless computers, cell phones, earbuds, your routers right underneath your desk, and the list just continues on with all the smart devices in the home.
Yeah, and it's probably quite interesting that we probably wake up in the morning, we hop onto one smart device, and for most people, their entire day is dictated by smart devices till the very end before you go to sleep. And if people have sleep trackers on, it's another smart device, again, with an electric field.
Yeah, so let's break down the science for your listeners and understand the difference on how we rev and how electricity is designed to work. And it wouldn't work unless it were designed this way. So man-made EMF is one-directional wave form. So signals have to go in and out of a junction to work. And if it's not one directional, it doesn't work. It's the same with wireless signals. They're one-directional waveforms. And that's where really the big challenge is with this technology. It's different than the way we rev. We're used to waves like the sun that distribute equally in every direction. They call those scalar waves. So if the sun were a one-directional beam, we wouldn't be here. So that's kind of how the difference is. We get a negative ionic charge from the earth. We get a positive from the sun from these scalar waves distributing equally. So our bodies act like a battery. We pull electrons from the earth. That's what recharges us. So as Dr. Mercola would say, we're EMF'd if we're not getting that good recharge from Mother Nature the way we're designed to.
So how has that been disrupted over the last sort of period of time?
Well, since we introduced electricity into our homes, everything, all the bigs, cancer, suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and obviously fertility now have all really been on the rise, and fertility's actually plummeted. But what's happening is diabetes kind of took the cake literally because of all the fake food. So that's grown at exponential rates. But right now, we're starting to see all these other ones come into play in a bigger sense. And so those are the big scenarios. 1998, there were procedurals set for ionizing versus non-ionizing waveforms. And it's just quite simply not true. You can put a laptop on your lap and it's going to heat up. Like there's still an ionizing effect with non-ionizing waveforms. And there's still Martin Paul out of Washington State University says that there's a voltage gated calcium channel. So the excess calcium goes into the cells, and that causes tremendous cell and DNA damage. It destructures your water. And what we're seeing here in the workplace, what I'm getting to for the entrepreneurs out there like myself, is cognitive challenges at home. You're not being able to focus, memory, anxiety, fatigue, stress, behavioral challenges. You're more lashing out on your coworkers. Those are just level 1 textbook EMF challenges.
So does that mean basically the more electrification we have in the world, the more trouble we're going to be in? Because it's going that way. I mean, you look at it now, electric vehicles, it's not going to stop, is it?
It's not going to stop. The proliferation of EMF is at the greatest level we've ever seen, and it's not going away, unfortunately. They keep rolling out satellites to the tune of hundreds of thousands of them, beaming phased array like 5G down on us. The Internet of Things, a smart grid that they're rolling out, they're just keep amplifying it, turning it up. They're doing an Internet of Things. Arthur Furstenberg sent out a crushing email sharing that they want to do the same Internet of Things in the ocean. And which would be like the turning on your concert speaker at the loudest level and playing it all day and all night for mammals in the ocean. Just devastating, zero awareness of the environmental factors and factors on our body. So, the key is to understand these challenges, but not give fear to them. We do have answers to them. Obviously, proximity awareness would be great. Obviously, if these products can be manufactured cleaner and have grounding effects, so the signal is going in and out, so they actually ground out. And then we have incredible solutions with my company EMF Rocks, emfrocks.com, and our grounding bags. Those are, it's just like walking barefoot in a bag, getting grounded by nature. So the key is to get grounded by nature.
And the reality is that how do we do that? I mean, most people tuning in today live a really busy life. I mean, how do you know if it's been affecting you? What are the kind of symptoms that you can sort of expect to see in terms of performance when you know that actually this stuff is having a negative impact on you?
Well, that was where I saw it come in, Peter. I saw these athletes breaking down. I work with mostly amateur and professional athletes for a few decades, and athleticism.com is my other site. And we see all these incredible athletes, but they're driving Teslas, they're wearing wireless earbuds and smart devices, watches, and they have their cell phones all over. These guys are just wired on EMF, on this one-directional waveform. So their bodies started to break down, and everyone's different. That's the thing with EMF, is you can't pinpoint one specific thing because everyone has different genetic makeups. Everyone will bend and break in different ways. And they call these I equate it to you're only strong as your weakest link. Well, your weakest link in your body is typically your joint. So, but internally it could be, something else. So we just don't know where that link will break down or when it breaks down. But kind of what I equate to is, when you wake up and you're not on your energy, you don't jump out of bed, you have the little fatigue in the end of the day. Those are subtle little things that could be EMF stuff. We found that the eyes, the teeth, your thymus, which is your electrical system for your whole body, and your stomach, which is a small intestine area below your belly button. Those are the 4 primary areas that get decharged first. So once those are decharged, you become a gateway for all the other challenges, more the stuff we saw in the Havana cohort, which was the first attack of US embassy workers on foreign soil with microwave radiation in Cuba, Havana, Cuba, and then also China. But they had more non-trauma concussion symptoms, nausea, massive headaches, ringing in the ears, bloody noses, rashes all over their skin. And that's the level 2. And then the bigs that I already mentioned would be level 3. So this stuff can be really challenging. It's weaponry in the military at the same bandwidth as 5G.
So the question for you then becomes this: would it be fair to say that perhaps some of the symptoms you're talking about sort of being sort of lethargic, tired, not wanting to jump out of bed, do you think that very often gets misdiagnosed as depression?
Oh, definitely. We're what we're seeing right now, I just woke up to someone forwarded me a video by Charlie Kirk, who's in the political arena here in the US. And he says there's this 40% increase in deaths over what's normal deaths, and they're not COVID deaths. So we don't know what that is, but what we can assure you is that there's more cognitive challenges going on. So that means potentially there's more drugs being consumed, and then more deaths from, pharmaceutical drugs or fentanyl or whatever the case, opioids, like all these addictive things. So I think, and it was in an age bracket of 18 to 61, and he was saying, which is not a normal to see that significant of a spike from the doctors that he's talking about, with insurance companies he's talking about. So I think all these things are trickle down effects of EMF for sure.
I do wonder whether or not the massive increase in talk about the younger generation now having mental health issues, whether the fact that their mental health issues is directly correlated with their extreme gadgetry.
Yeah. Well, we're living in a different era where the posture changes, everything changes with your body. These devices are meant to be addictive. And a lot of the screen time on the big screens will be like mini concussions, for the brain. So you're seeing the brain break down in a lot of ways. NCAA protocol for athletes having concussions is no screen time. They don't want them using these devices because it affects the blood-brain barrier, and that affects their healing. Skulls aren't fully developed for infants on up until you're about 23, 4 years of age. So there's a big component to it right now with cognitive challenges directly correlated to EMF. And I think across the board, France banned Wi-Fi in elementary schools several years ago, and I'm not sure if they still stuck with it. There's a lot of countries that Brussels has really been aware of the EMF challenges for kids, but unfortunately they're rolling out, especially over the last couple of years, more cell towers and bell towers of churches at schools, where these kids are just now, they're masking them, which is 3% less oxygen. It puts them in a sympathetic fear mode, which is the worst for anyone. Then you're not in growth mode, which is entrepreneurs want to be in growth mode always. So we're having a lot of challenges with that on a broad scale.
Why do you think it's not more heavily highlighted in the media?
Well, the challenge is you're dealing with industry or governments that want protection or safety there, and that's what they're alluding to. Industries that are for profit. Hey, we want to have everyone across the entire world accessible to EMF. Well, the challenge is you go to a remote, poverty-ridden area, there's no electricity there. Radiating from above is not going to help them in any way, shape, or form, nor the environment. They're turning their head to the toxicity of this all for profit, control, fear. I mean, these guys can dial up when someone has heavy metal toxicity in their body, they can control your cognitive behaviors from this. So there's a lot of bigger pictures going on that not a lot of people are talking about. I mean, it's kind of conspiracy theory at this point, but it's really not, because the science is there to prove that they can do that. But again, it's why is a drug now, the end all say all after us being here for over 100 million years? Why is a drug and a mask like the biggest thing that's going to save everyone? There's no reason for it. That's not. It's just all for profit, for these companies and control at the end of the day.
So entrepreneurs listening in, okay, performance may have dipped. There may be an element where EMF is playing a part in it all, but the reality is businesses live in a highly connected world, and that is the way that we do business, and that's been even more pushed with the whole online thing. How do we deal with it?
You get grounded by nature and you understand proximity awareness. So let me back up and share this book with you guys. Everyone should read The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Firstenberg. he categorizes the history of electricity. And not only does he do that, he categorized the history of pandemics in our world. Every single pandemic was directly correlated to increased shifts in our electromagnetic blanket of a universe, whether it's cosmic or man-made. 1918 Spanish flu, we introduced radio waves on a broad scale. World War II, satellites in the Van Allen belt, okay? Or actually that was radar. And then Hong Kong flew with satellites in the Van Allen belt. Before that were cosmic shifts. When there's a cosmic shift in the atmosphere, that throws off your REM patterns. And then your sleep's affected. And then that frequency, we produce a virus. A virus is a dead protein that we produce ourselves. It's our adaptive system. We're built on the tune of them from 10 to 31. That's 31 zeros of viruses in us, around us at all times. We wouldn't be here unless our adaptive systems of virus, fungus, and bacteria were around us and in us at that level. So we're just adapting to these toxins. And now 5G, that is what's been broadcasted. That's what we're adapting to. Talk to Tom Cowan, C-O-W-A-N. He wrote a book called The Contagion Myth. It's bioterrain over germ theory at the end of the day. But what I really want to convey is that we live in an electric world. It's an electric universe. And it's electric, we're electric, and we're one with it. When we introduce something that's different, designed differently, a one-directional waveform, our bodies are going to adapt, Peter. Like this is what we're seeing. We're seeing our bodies going, hey, this is new. I have to upgrade and adapt to this. So there's really nothing to fear on a broad spectrum. You'll adapt when you need to at the level you're capable. Take care of your body and keep on cranking. Stay in growth mode. Stay in that parasympathetic, dominant mode where you're in growth mode. And that's the key with everything. Understand physics, biology, how our universe is made, how to connect to that infinite flow of the universe for abundance for the entrepreneurs, and stay in that lane. And do not give in to the fear of, squashing that growth opportunity for you.
So if people want more information and they want to connect with you, where do they go?
emfrocks.com. We have our grounding bags there. That's where you'd find these. You put them on or under your bed, you'll go into a deeper sleep. They convert a waveform from one directional to unpolarized. Remember, when we're sleeping, we're at 1 or below 1 to 8 waves per second. That's our brainwave state.
Brilliant.
Okay, when you're looking at 5G of these, guess how many that is, Peter? 60 to 90 billion waves per second, one directional waveform, 10 zeros faster. It's a positive charge than how we're designed to sleep, rev, and optimize. So these things, shutting down your routers at night, putting these on airplane mode, quieting your whole environment at home will allow you to start to heal, keep your life force up so you can be super ultra productive in your home.
Well, put it this way, that's some pretty good tips for people to try out and see how it works out for them.
Simple. Anyone could do it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for sharing that. If anything's resonated with you today and you want a bit more information, head over to Bulka.com and get in touch. Once again, thank you very much for tuning into today's episode. If you like today's episode, please like, share with others so that they can also benefit, and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Remember, failing to learn is learning to fail. Justin, thank you for being a great guest.